Welcome along, everyone. Thanks for coming out on a Monday. Well, not coming out, staying at home on a Monday night. What a better place to do stuff like this. This is a workshop that we kind of thought that would be useful for everyone to know about. We're going to go over our scouting and selecting kind of framework and ideas and how we actually pick our players. Just to give you a bit of background from a player point of view, Charlene will talk about the umpires in a minute. We track around 100 athletes a year, give or take. And then we keep 3 separate lists of them. So one's our overall succession plan for A and Z. One is our secondary schools list for NDC. So that's for NDC. So that's a separate list of around sort of 50 or 60 high school athletes, but sometimes that can get quite big. And then the third list is everyone, is all of our high school players, all of our school leavers, all of the NNL players. And that's probably the list that feeds into the overall succession plan. So on our database, I say we track 100. We've got about 120 or 130 people on our overall database that we message. Shah, do you want
to? Hi, everyone. Charlene, the umpire lead, if I haven't met anybody already. As we go through this and talk about the player area, Pete will go first, and then I'll have a chat about what we do in the umpire space as well. We try and tie in together with some of the stuff we do, but parts of it looks different. So we work together, but have different ways of and timing that we do it all. So as we go through, we'll present to you, and I think Pete will do questions at the end. Awesome.
Sure will. Sorry, I should introduce myself. My name's Pete McInnes. I'm the Athlete Development and Pathways Lead, and I've got the longest title in netball, which is good. And Tans, can I get you to just introduce yourself as well? You want to get yourself a wine, maybe?
So I'm just having a cup of tea and a biscuit. I'm Tanya, the coach lead for the zone.
Sweet. So we'll crack into it, eh? Oh, no, hang on. I've got to push a different button. So the purpose of our program, I will send you guys out all the slides so you can see, because they're quite wordy and I don't want to talk through all the words. So the overall purpose is to identify talent for our performance pathway. And pathway is not a great word, but we can't come up with a better one. So if you've got a better word, feel free to share it, chuck it in the chat. I'm all ears. We observe and evaluate our players, and we do that in we need to compare them. So it's real tricky if you're from a remote place and you've got, the best player in your school or centre or club. We are always interested in looking at those people, but we can't tell where they fit in our pathway unless we see them with those other players. So that's quite important, but it's also really important that you tell us who they are so that we can go and see them to evaluate. Is that okay? And then we're trying to build a pipeline of talent. And one of the things when I say we track 100 athletes, we track 100 because essentially that gets us 1 or 2 a year can transition to A and Z. And if we don't track 100, if we track less, we'll get less. Like, it really does take a lot of talent coming in at the bottom to squeeze something useful out at the top. So community netball is incredibly important to our pathway, and it's, I don't know what the thinking is out there in the community. Guys can probably tell me about that later. But from my point of view, if we don't have a broad base of quality netballers coming from community, we absolutely will not get quality players to come out and play A and Z and be Silver Ferns later on. So that's incredibly important. And then our long-term goal is to build depth and performance level netball in Netball Northern. And my goal, and one of the things we talk about is being the place that people come for athletes. Like, when someone around the country wants a player, I want them to look at our zone first, look at Netball Northern and go, actually, we've got to go there. And that's proving to be pretty true at the moment, but I still think we could be better. So that's our That's the purpose of our program, to be the best and create the best athletes in the country, which we need a lot of help for.
Well, on the umpire side of it, our vision is to continuously have umpires coming through that feed into our national events and into Netball New Zealand's pathways as well. So we're constantly trying to align with what Netball New Zealand are doing and looking at our programs. And that may mean adjusting as we go, so that we are in line with them. Our main development at the moment in the space is looking at Netball New Zealand's under-18 national champs, so the umpires that get selected for that, and also into our own development program where we've got an umpire development group we've had for a few years now, where we look after them and do a little bit of extra work. And just like Pete said, the same thing, we're looking at the centres and supporting their programs as well, and working with them to bring the umpires through, right from community through to what's now watch list, national squad, into Netball New Zealand.
Sweet. I will say, if you've got questions as we go, just chuck them in the chat for us, please. And if I think we'll answer them later, I'll let you know and we'll pause. But if we can answer them now and it makes sense to answer them as they come up, just chuck them in there. No, that one. So this is our player pathway. So we've developed this ourselves based on what we do. So Netball New Zealand have their player pathway, which you're all welcome to go and look at on their website if you like. But this is what we do. So this is on our website. Feel free to go and have a look. But again, I'll send you the slides out so you'll see it. So we start with scouting. We scout the whole season. We're about to start now. At the end of this, there might be a wee opportunity for a few of you, if you're interested, to put your hands up and give us a hand. At the moment, we've got about six or seven scouts. The more the merrier. The more information we get, the easier that is. So we scout at centre competitions, at school competitions. So we see school and club. We go to the rep tournaments here in Auckland. There's obviously 6 of those. I don't know if you know that. There's 6 of those this year. So starting in...
This
starting
Sunday.
this year? Starting Papakura, so Papakura and then Pukekohe, then Howick are running a tournament this year on King's birthday, and then Auckland, Harbour and Waitakere. And so we get out there and see those games. Ideally, there is a rep working group kind of sits in behind that, and they discuss the format of those tournaments. And from our perspective, they play 2 40-minute games a day. I will say we generally only look at under 16s and under 18s. This year we'll probably look a lot harder at under 16s because under 18s is in Auckland and we get to see all the teams there. The only thing we'll look at in under 14s is people who are physical outliers or like super spectacular, but we won't probably pick them or put them on a list at under 14s. We'll just look at them with a bit of interest and go, oh yes, she's tall, oh yes, she's fast or whatever. But under 14s is not where we focus our attention, and nor should we. After that, we invite the players on our list, which is the development day is for our high school players. We try and invite kind of sort of anywhere between 60 and 80 players to that. This year, we're looking at doing 2 development days, one in the north of Auckland and one out south somewhere. So we're still finalising that. Feeding out of that is our summer squad, and both development day and summer squad are invite only. So if you think someone's missed out, then you need to tell us so that we can make sure we get them on our list. Summer squad is 3 to 4 sessions. It's very pointy in terms of who we invite. It's only around 40 players. It includes our NNL and our NDC group. So we send 25 players to the National Development Camp. So you've got to be reasonable to make that. We don't just invite anyone. That's the summer squad is coached by myself, the ANZ coaches and the NNL coaches, and then anyone else in our performance coach pathway that we think we need. Whereas the development day is open to the Tanya's coach squad, and we're quite happy to do that and provide some coach development support for the people in that space. So that's how that works. And then our performance squad is in 2 stages. The first stage is open trials, and we invite up to 30 athletes into stage 1, where we train for 6 weeks. We do 10 sessions, and then out of that comes our training squad for the year, which is up to 10 athletes only, and they train with us for 12 months. That generally includes our ANZ training partners in that group. So that leaves 5 spots. Most of those players are linked to NNL, but that is not a prerequisite. We will take people into that program even if they are not necessarily ready for that, because the goal, which we'll get to later, is ANZ. The goal for our scouting is not NNL. It's not to be good at centre. We are scouting primarily for potential to play ANZ Premiership netball. Sweet. And then the NNL squads kind of fall out of the top of that. And we'll talk a bit more about NNL later on.
Right, this is the umpire pathway. This is actually showing the Netball New Zealand one. So this is in our community umpiring guidelines, just to get that information. We don't have a structured pathway underneath this, but it is when we look at the umpires, same as what Pete was talking about, at local rep tournaments, centres and under 16s and UNIS, everything that feeds into it. So our main structured pathway starts at under 18 champs, secondary schools, going through to opens, and of course National League, and heading forward. Only a short one there, Pete.
Yeah, easy. Like it. Okay. So our scouting process. So we go to everything we can. I haven't put UNIS in there, but we definitely go to UNIS. Last year, quite helpfully, our scouting group ran separately, but I did assist a little bit in the background with the UNIS selectors who selected the tournament teams. Basically, we go to stuff, we look at players, and we enter them on a Google form. So I'll show you the Google form. It's not arduous. It's designed to be done on a phone. So you can whip out your phone if you're in our scouting group, tap the link, and then enter data for the player. So we need to know who they are and where they're from. Can everyone see that? Yep. Okay. Yeah. Good. Yes. Matt, I can see Maz's thumb. That's good. That's all I need. Just one. We need to know where they play. So that's just a drop down. You can select the position you watch them in, not where you think they should play, but where they're currently playing. And then we've got 5 little criteria that we look at. Well, we've got a bunch of criteria that we look at. We mark them on a scale of 1 to 5. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. You can choose multiple things on the scouting form. So if you think they're between a 2 and a 3, you can select both. You can select 1. If they're a defender, for example, and we're asking you about shooting stuff, you can select NA for not applicable. I can show you that at the top. Is that on there? There you go. So the 1 to 5 scale, 1 poor, really demonstrates the quality, through to high performance standard, outstanding under pressure, can execute really well. That's our 1 to 5, and that'll make more sense when I show you the next bits. So that's it. Oh, my form's broken. Oh no, it's not. So so landing, just 1 to 5. Do they land? That's important. Jumping, how high can they jump? Can they repeat? Can they out-jump their opposition? Game skills, do they catch the ball strongly? Do they turn fast? So turning fully, we always talk about turning fully. We want people to turn fully fast, because then they can create time and speed the game up. Can they pass with variety and accuracy and different timing from different release points? We often see lots of players, especially young players nowadays, who think that passing from the hip's a good idea. So we can dissuade them of that notion. That would be lovely, please, because it's not a great notion. On defence, do they restrict the opponent's use of space? Do they contest ball on flight? Do they contest it at the catch point? Do they get around the body? Do they contest in the air? All of those things. Obviously, defenders, we want them to win the ball in a variety of places. but actually being particularly good at one skill is great, right? So, you know, if someone was a 4 in contesting the ball in flight, but they might only be a 1 at getting around the body, that gives us an indication of where they're at now, where they need to improve, and where they're good. Tactical understanding, changing angles, so manipulate your angles to set stuff up for the next phase. That's on attack and defense. Yeah, so not just attack. So unit work on attack, unit work on defense. How tall are they? That's quite useful. If they're young, one of the things I always find interesting is how tall are their parents or how big are their feet. Yeah, you know, when you see a 15-year-old kid who's, you know, 165 centimeters but wearing size 11 shoes, you can bet she ain't going to be 165 centimeters for very long. But we can't find all that stuff out, so we just ask for their height. Any other attributes that are important? Are they explosive? Are they tall? Do they just have presence? And we all see players like that who can dominate a team and provide leadership and do stuff that other people can't see. And can they play consistently? And then the only other thing I want to know is the day's date, and from that I can work out what the event is that you're scouting at. Simple. Wait. Haven't seen any questions pop up. That must be right then. And then the other way that we want information is we want information from you guys in the community. And I send this stuff out every year. I don't know how far it gets, but every year before under 18s and 16s, I send information out to every single centre in the zone and ask them to forward us information on your players so that we know who to go and look at. We send them to the UNIS committee, and where we can, we send them to the schools, but we don't have a database of all the schools, and we ask the schools to send us information of who their players are. And if you're with a school and you think that you're going to send us information, please don't send me your team list. I've got that. I just need to know the 1 or 2 players that we should come and have a look at in context and get some information on. And this obviously saves us a lot of time, especially at UNIS or under 18s, but UNIS in particular, right? There's 120 odd teams there. 90 of them are from our zone. With 7 of us, we literally do not have time or the ability to look at all 90 teams. But if we know we've got to go and look at, you know, we see all the big teams, like we see Howick and St Kitts and Avondale and all those good teams. But if there's one from, I don't know, pick a school, Whangarei Girls, that we need to absolutely go and have a look at, then we need to know that. Otherwise, we just chance wandering past the court and going, oh, she looks all right, I wonder who she is. But if we've got that information to start, it obviously saves us time and makes the players more likely to be seen, right? It also tells us what you guys are thinking in the community. Who do you think's good? Because who you think is good might not be who we think are good, and we need to know that information too, right? Sweet. Jar.
So this one, I've just realised I'll probably talk more about our umpire selectors. So in our zone, we have at the moment a group of 4 selectors, and they've gone through a process to become a selector as well. We work together as a group to observe the umpires, and this is mainly at the moment talking about the process going to under 18s. So we open up the applications across the whole zone. So in the past, it used to be that teams that were sending, centres that were sending a team to under 18s would have an umpire selected from their centre. We really wanted to open that up and look at the umpires that may not get seen, or by chance their centre may not be sending a team. So we're looking at the talent and development that is actually in our zone overall. Umpires can apply, so that usually starts around early April. And then the selectors meet and make sure we've got everybody that we really need on the list, and we have a process of actually going out and observing everybody. Most of the time we already know about the umpires and have seen them in some way, but we do make sure we're quite transparent about the process and observe everybody that applies. There's many places that we can observe them as well, so not just at centres, but again through any training sessions that happen. Umpires get invited to umpire sessions for our NNL teams and our ANZ teams as well. So that's another opportunity to see them. And then we'll work as a group to observe what we've seen and select the right number of umpires to put forward to Netball New Zealand to go away to tournament. There is a wider group that we also look at as well. We're starting to call these our pathway umpires. So these may be umpires that are heading towards under 16s, are standing out at UNIS as well. They're umpires that may go to under 18s in the next 2 to 3 years. So we're actually looking at a whole range and a big group of umpires below that. They'd be ones that get invited to our development day. So there's quite a process for the selectors, and we're happy to chat to anybody about that at any time as well. Our next one.
Yep.
So again, we're the same with the feed forward process. So happy to receive any information from centres and umpire coaches. A lot of umpire coaches are just based solely at their centres, but we do encourage them to get out and about and visit other centres. Good opportunities for that to happen at rep tournaments as well, for them to see other umpires and coach other umpires as well. We'll also see them at the tournaments and at UNIS, so that helps us identify those athletes as a larger group. We also are very open to umpire coaches and centres feeding forward umpires they see as development. I don't have a fancy Google form like Pete at the moment. So at this stage, it's an email coming in to me or via your umpire convener at the centre, but we're really happy to know about any umpires you've got in your centre, and I often talk to the conveners about who they are as their names come up. So please forward that information as well. Cool.
Yeah, feed forward is, yes, we ask for formal information from centres and schools and stuff, but at the same time, all you guys are about to have my email address if you don't have it. If you see someone that you think we need to look at, send me an email. Yep. Go and look at Sarah Smith from Westlake Girls. I don't care. Just any way it comes is great for us. I'm not fussy. The better information we get, the easier it is for us to find the best players. Cool. Here are the scouting definitions broken down instead of on the Google form, just much easier. Again, I'll send this to you. But the attributes are the stuff we're looking for. So skill, execution, decision-making, work rate, athleticism, game sense, and team impact. And that's all the stuff that's in the Google form. But when you're looking at a player, if you know this information, then it gives you some context of potentially where they might sit in our framework. Yeah, because good at centre and good at school might be great, and they might be great all the way through, but they might not be able to play NNL or beyond or ANZ, which is what we're looking for, right? Because they might just be okay at all that stuff. Easy. Marking scale, that's what I went through in the Google form before. It's just this is an easier way to look at it for you, so I won't bore you with that again. And then this is where it gets pointy. When they go on our list, we rank them and tier them. Now, sometimes the ranking and the tiers don't match up because they might be really good at netball right now, so they might rank highly on, say, an NDC list. But when we're tiering them to go into our big list, this stuff's really important. So tier 1 is at an NNL level or a year away from trialing. Yeah, sweet. Tier 2 is 2 to 3 years away, and if they're at school, we'd consider tier 2s for NDC. Obviously, if you're at school and you were tier 1, you'd be on the NDC list pretty quick. And then tier 3 is anyone with future potential for ANZ. So they might not sit in those other 2 tiers. They might be quite young. They might be very developmental. We know taller players take a long time to develop and a lot of work. So, yeah, they're the ones we track. And then when we're really looking at them for our performance program, for example, I can tell you this, the only people we put in our performance program, that top 10, is players we think can play ANZ Premiership, not players we think can play NNL, or if they're a more mature player, a bit older, and we think that they can help drive the performance squad group to play ANZ, then we would consider them for our performance program. And they are the only two types of people we put in it. So that's the reality. We've also only got 10 gym spots, right? So we've got a massive resource issue in trying to cast that net wide. This really quickly is a broad overview of the selection policy that that the Marbles and the Comets agree to. In the Northern Zone, we are unique in that we have two teams, and so we have to have some sort of rule, so it's not a free-for-all and a popularity contest. So I don't really feel like I'll bore you with those. Again, that policy is on our website, and you can see this slide when I send it out to you. But essentially, there's a line. The line runs through the Manukau Harbour, just south of Onehunga. And then cuts through Howick. So Howick is south of the line and everywhere else is north of the line. I know the Marbles like to joke that Australia is north of the line. So Australian players are in the Marbles catchment apparently, but that's how we do it. Each team is allowed 3 players from outside of their area, max, and that's 3 out of the 12. TPs and ATPs can be from anywhere in New Zealand, but if they're apprentice training partners, sorry, that's what TP is training partner, ATP is apprentice training partner, and the difference is the training partners get paid and the apprentice training partners do not. The training partners don't count towards the 12, but the apprentice training partners do, because by agreement we try to only have apprentice training partners from our zone. In fact, we're pretty staunch on that. I don't think we've had any apprentice training partners from outside our zone for a very long time. And then there is provision to release players if they've got a historical link with one team or the other, but they've moved, then we would release them to play for the team with their historical kind of link. If there's a logistics reason, so say they might live out west but they work in Mangere and it's much easier to go to Comets, then we would release them for that. And then other things on a case-by-case basis. If they're not selected for one team, they are welcome to go and trial for the other team. And where possible, we try and align our trials. Didn't work out this year, but ideally, and it worked out last year, is the first trial was on the same day. No, the first trial was on separate days so that they could go to both teams' first trial. And the second trial was on the same day, so you had to go back to the one that you were aligned with if you were called back. If you're not called back, you can go to anyone. As I say, I don't want to get too bogged down in that, but that's on our website and more than happy to talk to people about it offline if you want to send me an email. Yes, and this is what we do. So a ranked list of around 100 athletes. NDC and secondary school lists are ranked separately. And that's actually not the right words. Sorry, our overall list and our secondary school list are ranked separately because our NDC list ends up with 25 players that get, 30 players that get submitted to Netball New Zealand, and they take the top 25 on that list. We give them 30 names on a list so that they've got a list of people who are next if someone can't make it or gets injured. We use our lists to track and invite players to our development events like Development Day and Summer Squad to remind players about NNL trials and performance squad trials. So if they're not on our list or we don't have their email address, things become tricky. Yeah, so that's not terribly complicated, I don't think. And then we've gone through a lot of player stuff.
So the umpire selection stuff, this area, we're talking about those that are heading towards that under 18 level. So this is not the pathway or under 16s, although this is the kind of things we're looking at just to give everyone an idea. So we're really looking at more than what they're just doing on the court. So it's about being open to learning and stretched. We're teaching them right throughout, if we can, an ability to self-reflect. And that means they're able to think about their own game and discuss it. So the coaches aren't just telling them what happened in their game and what they need to do next or what's right or wrong. So we do try and help our umpires to self-reflect in their own game. We want them, of course, to have an understanding of technique and applying that to the game and game management if required. Encouraging them and also teaching them how to engage with umpire coaches. So our philosophy is that it's a two-way relationship. So it's not the umpire coach talking to the umpire, that it's a conversation with both sides. And we hope that the umpire will actually do most of the talking. So this is what we're trying to develop with them right throughout, not just once they get to the under 18 level or further. We'd like them to show potential to progress along the pathway, although this may not always be the case because we're not sure what people will do in the future. But if they have that potential and they actually have a want to develop and progress along it. What happens off the court matters as well, so that positive role modelling and the professionalism that they have on and off the court, although it doesn't always show through in the younger years, so we try and help them and support them through that as well. And of course, we always encourage a good level of fitness. Hopefully you've seen our umpires fitness testing at centres, so it is required of them to get certain qualifications and also to go to tournament. But we're encouraging that right throughout community level as well. And I saw a massive uptake in that in our March fitness testing. We had twice as many umpires fitness testing as we usually do at that time of year. So hopefully that is actually coming through in community, and we're encouraging all umpires to have a good level of fitness and to test. And that's just so they can see their own level where they're at. And when they test the next time, progress on their own score. So it's not about competing against others. It's about their own fitness and actually getting better themselves. That's the kind of criteria broadly that we're looking at through the development space.
Sweet. So these are our development opportunities, obviously. So development days, 2 days in October. Invite only, targeted at high school players. And this just the biggest thing about our development days is it gives us the ability to see all of the players from across the zone in context with and against each other. So it's a pretty important piece in our pathway. It means we can easily compare players. We don't stream them when we bring them in. We just chuck them in teams and groups, and they get coached by people, and we just observe them. So, we don't put all the good ones together. We don't put all the ones from a particular region together. We try and mix them up as much as possible, so we really do get a chance to see everyone in context. And then our summer squad, which is exactly as it says, so invite only, targeted at school leavers under 16 and under 18 representative players, and players on our NDC list. But we generally, not even generally, we only invite players who will be in year 12 or above the following year. So if they're in year 9 or 10, we won't invite them to summer squad at all. That's not a place for younger players. Their places in their centres, and actually realistically in November and December, their places off playing touch or whatever, softball or whatever other summer sport they want to play. We don't need them at that point in time. Sweet. Questions? I suspect there's quite a few. So what are your questions? Let's have them. And you can you don't need to type them in the chat anymore. If you've got a question, turn your mic on and get stuck in. Could be for Shah, could be for me, could even be for Tanya about coaching. I'll give you a minute to percolate.
Hi, Pete. Justin, it's Tanya here doing
Yeah.
graphic. Hi. Just in regards to for the NDC, what is the youngest that you look at? Is it like year 11, and is it year 12 the eldest that you would look at?
It's real tricky. So last year, so 2024, We had a really strong year 13 group. So when we're scouting, we look at all of them, right? So we look at if they're at school and we're at a school tournament, we look at year 13s down. We can't send year 13s to NDC that year. So yes, it's year 12 down. We have sent in my time 1 year 10 once. She was pretty exceptional. We're pretty reluctant to send those younger players. So yeah, 11. So this year for 2025 for our NDC list, we'll be looking at players that are currently year 11 or 12. We might look at year 10s, and if we see a really exceptional year 9 going into year 10, we might think about it, but I'd be pretty reluctant to send anyone that young again. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you very much.
Oh yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
Tēnā tātou. My question is, how do we, what is it? For scouting purposes up here in Northland, the competition up here is not as strong. So the things that you guys are looking for, it's like they can display it, but it's not consistent enough because the competition's not competitive enough. So how do we get those players that can demonstrate those skills into the 100 for the development day, when they don't really have tough opponents up here for you to come watch them play against?
You can do it.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, if you want to, if you've got, you can feel free to join our scouting group, Christina.
Okay,
but if you guys
see,
see, and this is the problem, right? Is I think everyone thinks that scouting's some weird thing that you've got to have specialist skills for. If you're staring at a kid who's good at netball, I would much rather you just tap some information in, and then I could see them. I'll probably, I might see them at Eunice, I might not, but then I can flick you an email and go, hey, you put this kid in, what's she like? Is she worth inviting to development day? And if you tell me yes, I'll be pretty reluctant to say no. Don't get me wrong, if she gets there and she's absolutely mud, then you and I'll have a different conversation. But if she turns up and she's worth a look and she's got potential, even if she's raw, then I'm really interested in looking at players like that. Because we don't know until they've had a chance to be developed and coached in different contexts, right? Like players that end up with one coach probably end up playing one way, but players that end up with multiple coaches and multiple experiences and multiple environments tend to be quite malleable, and sometimes they're just raw and just need refining.
Yeah. Okay.
Sounds like you're volunteering though, so that's good.
Yeah, I don't mind as long as it's in Northland. I don't really like coming to Auckland with all the roadworks.
No, and that's the thing. No one needs to go anywhere they don't need to go. Like the more people we've got in their environments doing that work and sending us information about players, the better.
Okay. Ka-bye. Thank you.
All those people that email me today to say, well, you're recording it, who've got burning questions right now are going to be really sad. Anyone else got any questions? Did we do too good a job? Sure.
You guys said that you only look at under 16s and under 18s. What if there's a girl that she is under a 16s, but she's only year 9?
We'd probably look at her by mistake. Year nines are too young for us to have any real indication of their ANZ potential. Unless they're like 6'4" at year 9, and then we might be pretty interested. But even then, like we wouldn't bring them into our program at that point. Like they need to be developed at their centres and in their schools, in their communities. Like we don't have the resource or the ability to develop people like that. So we have to trust you guys to do that job for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just pick them up when they're 17 and take all the credit, sorry.
Cowboy.
Pete, just a question in relation to a girl that's playing netball and is also doing first 15 girls rugby. Would
Mhm.
she have to make a choice? Or like if we were looking at nominating her, for instance, for netball, for NDC, for instance, would she have to make a choice? She's a year 11 at the moment.
Not until she has to make a choice. Not from our point of view. I mean, at some
Okay.
stage she's going to have to make a choice, right? But at the moment, if she's good at both, then great, you know. And if she chooses netball, that's even better for us, right? Because then she's a more skilled, you know, multi-talented athlete. At some stage they will have to make a choice, but that's not like it's not on my list of things to make people do.
Okay.
Like our job, and I think our job as a sport and as a community is to provide a place that people want to come and be involved, so that when the time comes to make a choice, they go, oh, actually, netball's a really cool sport with really cool people who really invest in me and want to help me, and they'll just choose us. But
Okay.
I'm obviously very
Yeah.
optimistic, but that's always my thinking.
Okay. Awesome.
Hi, Pete. Matt's here. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm just following on from Tanya. I do notice within our region that there can be code clashes, and so the question is often around how to encourage coaches to manage those clashes, because of course they want their players to be in their team environment, and you know, they're trying to set standards and rules, etc., whatever they want to call it, you know, and then there's these clashes, and then so kids are then actually going, well, actually, because there's a clash, I'm choosing to opt out of a sport or out of that team, so that I can go and play some that I still want to play the sport, but I'm going to go play elsewhere so that I don't have that clash. So it's really about the coaches and getting the coaches to time manage and accept the code clashes in a way. Any advice?
Yep. Look, that's a real tricky one, right? People don't like being told, no, you can't do something. So rules.
Is that the coaches or the players?
Or anyone. Do you like being told you can't do something if you want to do it? That's a people in general. The best advice I could give you and would be to work with the players in their individual circumstances where they are, and work out what the best thing for them is.
Yes.
And make that offer. Like, get them to make the decision. If the best thing for them is that they stay in the netball team and they go and do the thing that means that they don't do the other thing, then that's what they do. But if the reverse of that is true, and it's best for them and their family and their friends and their social life and their sporting aspirations or whatever, who cares? That's the best decision for them, that's the decision that we should be trying to support them in, right?
Absolutely.
Like if we think about player-centered coaching, we're coaching a person in front of us. What do they need to do that's best for them?
You have this tension with the coaches that are then putting blocks in their way for progress.
I would. My only advice would be to inform the coach that by doing that all they're going to do is push their players away.
Yeah.
There aren't going to be too many successes in saying you can't do this, you must do this other thing.
Yeah.
The second there's a must, people are like, no, well then I'm out.
Well, that's exactly what happens.
Well, that's unfortunately just human nature. It's not, and it's like it's a well-researched piece of human nature. It's not like anecdotal. Like if you put people in a situation where they've got a choice between two things and they want to do one and not the other, and you tell them they have to do X instead of Y, they'll do Y.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, it just comes down to having those conversations with those people and saying, what can you do? How can you manage what's best for the person in front of you, forgetting all of the other contexts? Like I know we coach sport. We actually don't. We coach people. The sport is just the vessel. So if we're not willing to work with the people and we put roadblocks in their way or tell them they must do one thing over the other, then
Yeah.
you're in
I guess
trouble.
the thing is that there's a huge, we're trying to encourage balance is better, and yet we've got, kids playing multiple sports and trying to fit in their studies and a job and a social life, and it becomes like, well, that's not balance.
Yeah, well, and I feel like balance is better is sometimes misunderstood, right? Because balance is
sure.
balance, and balance is better is in a sporting context is around playing multiple codes. But if your life balance needs, if it's like you actually need to cut down on sports, just play one sport so you can actually get your life stuff sorted and go to school and study or work or whatever, then that needs to be a much bigger part of the conversation.
Yeah, there's a lot of young people burning the candle at both ends.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. As well as adults.
Yeah, but I think about it though, like most of the people in this meeting, when we were all younger athletes, probably did exactly the same thing, right? So
Yeah.
how do we help people through those moments as opposed to probably what happened to us of either do this or bugger off.
I think there's just the acceptance that as long as we've got good communication between players and coaches, all is possible.
That's easier said than done. Tans, you got something to add there?
No, I was just going to say it is really coach education. And that's why we encourage anybody that's doing representative or higher levels, or any coaching actually, that they come to the Netball New Zealand modules. And we talk about building those effective relationships and who's involved in that player's lives and having that communication with those people. And it's crucial. It's absolutely crucial. I mean, I haven't coached for 100 years and I'm taking a little UNIS team and I only have one training a week because I know their workload is huge. But then I hear of other schools and I'm like, wow, it's it's player-centered coaching. It's what is the needs of that player at that moment. And we just need to step up as adults and make sure that we put the players first, not the sport and our egos. That's all I've got to say.
This is probably a question and probably more pertinent in Northland. Is some of the tension that lots of people in the community do potentially know these people particularly well?
In general, probably, yes. Yeah.
So I guess that's the flip side of that, right? So who are those relationships you need to have with?
Yeah.
Like, are they with the player and their family, or are they actually with some of those people in the other codes? To say, hey,
and there's nothing better than community support, right? Whether that's
yeah.
Because it's often more than just mum and dad getting Sally to the netball courts. There's usually multiple options. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, I don't know how helpful that was because I feel like you probably knew most of that answer, but
I think it is one that I find that I come across often, particularly with the rise of rugby, which is fantastic. I'm a big rugby supporter, love it, but the code is a lot more physical and demanding in terms of a young body, and then when they are then coming to netball or basketball or swimming or whatever, there is repercussions from that physicality, so it is definitely something that needs more management. Yeah, just an observation.
Yeah, that was a pretty big question. Does anyone else online have anything or an example of dealing with a situation like that that's turned out positively?
I'll repeat at this stage, just to talk from the umpire space as well. We have our development group at the moment. They have a lot on their plate through their netball life, family life, study and work. So all we ask from them is their communication, because they get a fair amount of emails from me asking them to umpire at Marvel's games, Mystics trainings and the like. There's constant opportunities that are coming up on top of their own centre umpiring. So we tell them to say no to things if they're overloaded, they just need to communicate. So we encourage them to balance what they've got going on, look after themselves and not overload themselves. And a lot of our coaching conversations are around what happens away from the court. So a lot of the time with our development group, it's not coaching them on the game they've just umpired. It can be coaching and supporting them through everything else they've got going on so they can actually be their best when they take the court. So I think, like what Tanya says, it's building those effective relationships with our athletes so they feel supported and want to stay in the sport. And if they need a year away or time off because work's too much or study's too much, just trust that we'll be there if they want to come back and support them.
Sweet. Conscious of the time, I wouldn't. I don't know how you guys feel about being able to wrap this up by kind of 8 o'clock, but I'd be pretty happy for a couple more questions if you've got them.
I've got one. What's the oldest you would take
What's the oldest we take into our performance
into
program?
the performance program?
I don't know. I've never had to answer that question before. This year we've been very clear in the performance program and not taking any school kids.
Yep.
I don't know. We've got a player in there that's should be 23 or 24. I don't know. Again, so on the tiering scale, and when we're looking at succession plan and we're talking about performance squad in particular, we're talking about 1 to 5 years from A and Z. So if someone was mid to late 20s and we thought that they were 12 months from A and Z, no problem. We'd put them in.
Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, compared to Australia, I find our expectations around maturity to be for ANZ to be a lot younger than Australia.
I feel like that's a side effect of our focus on school netball. And if you think about Netball New Zealand's pathway, essentially starts with New Zealand secondary schools.
Yeah.
Then there's probably your answer. Whether that's right or not's a whole different kettle of fish. I feel like New Zealand secondary schools as an exercise and an entity ignores probably isn't the right word, but excludes a whole bunch of players who are the same age with the same abilities. And I guess understanding that is one of the reasons why we've stepped away, why we've moved in a different direction with our performance squad and NNL program, because if those kids aren't getting an opportunity at 18, 19, 20, then how many players are we actually losing to the sport and to our performance pathway that could have made it? But yeah, our focus isn't on how old or young they are, it's how good they are and are they ready, and can we get them ready in a time frame?
Cool, thank you.
Is there anything you need me to fill out to become a scout up here in Northland?
No, just send me an email. Yep.
Oh, is that with the players or player
pathways? I'll send you an email after. I'll send you guys all an email after this with the slides and probably a copy of the recording. Just reply to that.
Kapai.
Yeah, easy as. That's for anyone. If you want to be involved in scouting, I'm more than happy to talk to anyone about it. So that's for everyone online. Some of you coach, obviously, and coaching and scouting can be problematic, but depends how much you coach. Wait. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing so we can all see each other briefly. Has anyone got any other questions? Otherwise, we might knock it on the head and Hans can go finish a cup of tea and a biscuit. Cool. Okay, doesn't look like it. Okay, thanks very much for coming, guys. That's us, short and sweet. Thanks for Charlene and Tanya, for popping on, and everyone else. So yeah, if you've got any other questions that pop into your head overnight, feel free just to send me an email. Always happy to talk about netball, as I'm sure all of you are.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, Tan.
Thanks, everyone. Reach out if you need to.
Ka pai, tēnā
Thank you.